Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as we do have some heavy rain in the north at the moment that is slowly spreading southwards over the coming hours. It is still pretty stunning in the south today with lots of warm, sunny weather. However, over the next couple of days, it's all going to change. The cold air that's just to the north of Scotland, that's giving this rain along the cold front there, is going to be sinking southwards. We are gradually going to see cooler weather come in for the end of this working week, alongside some heavier rain as that transition does happen. But as we head into the weekend, we'll go from average sort of air, Atlantic air, to some actual Arctic air, as we have been seeing in the last few videos. It looks pretty much bang on now that we are going to see some very cold air for the time of year, maybe as much as 5 to 10 degrees below average in some areas. So in complete contrast to this week, where it's been 10 degrees above average in some southern areas. There is likely to be some quite cold, dry air, dew points dropping close towards freezing in many areas. We're looking likely to see frosts, especially in the north, northern England, Scotland, maybe Northern Ireland, maybe elsewhere as well, but it'll be more touch and go in other regions. And there is the risk of seeing some wintry showers as well, especially over the highlands of Scotland and over elevated areas. But there's also the risk of some wintriness coming in other showers as well. Again, not expecting anything major. A few flakes here or there, some grapple or some hail is possible as we head into the weekend. And we'll be able to have a look at that in the longer range with the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensemble. So of course have a look at the colder spell, the colder snap that we're going to be seeing, and what could be in store after that. There's some very interesting blocking patterns appearing. We have to remember it is middle of October, so blocking patterns are more likely as the polar vortex hasn't fully powered up yet. And of course, there's not that much cold air available to our north and our east, but nevertheless, very interesting seeing that, and could give us a real quick transition from late summer to early winter. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. Remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see it's another very dry day for southern areas. For much of England and Wales, it's been bone dry again. Lots of sunshine and temperatures in around the low 20s or even 25, 26 degrees seen in a few areas. Starting to see some patchy rain for northern England, parts of Northern Ireland, as we're starting to see cool air move in, instability rising, meaning we're going to see showers break out. Heavy rain across Scotland, and there is a yellow warning issued for this, but it is expiring next hour or two as I'm recording this. And of course, we've had a look at it in detail in the last couple of videos, and it hasn't been updated since Sunday, so we won't be covering that. But again, heavy rain in these areas across western Scotland, already on top of quite saturated ground. There's some ridiculous amounts of rainfall through the weekend, so again there could be some flooding issues, but the actual amount of rain falling from this isn't too impressive. It's just the fact it's onto very saturated ground. If we do look at the temperatures, recording this around 6 p.m, you can see still lots of oranges developing across England and Wales and parts of the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and even southern and eastern Scotland away from the rainfall. High teens, low 20s widely, even touching the mid-20s. That's all gonna change over the next 24 hours or so, especially for northern areas, but even southern areas starting to see a transition as we start seeing rain move in and cooler, fresher Atlantic air. Now, if you look at the latest UKV, we'll have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. We'll have a look at the air masses and the dew points as well, as that will highlight the stark contrast in air masses we will be seeing from today. From Saturday, only 3 or 4 days time, we're going to go from warm summer Mediterranean air masses to air masses originating in from the North Pole. Now, through the rest of today, you can see that rain will continue to push down from the south, but not make too much progress and fizzle out as it does. And this is because the transition is quite slow and it's not particularly massive contrast, at least on the boundary, on the cold front. Therefore, the rainfall isn't too widespread, isn't too heavy at this stage. But we'll see some reinforcements from the Atlantic with a bit of a disturbance moving in. It could give some enhanced rainfall as we head into tomorrow morning, especially for the Midlands, Wales. To the south of this, still could be a bit muggy, but to the north, it'll be much fresher. But to the south of the weather front, though, even though it will still be muggy, still be generally warm, it's not going to be as great as it's been over the last 5 days or so, because we are losing the sunshine and the air mass is slowly losing its intensity. Now that rainfall does linger through Wednesday evening, and it does reinvigorate itself perhaps through to the early hours of Thursday, and we sort of say on the cusp of that warmer air. You can see it's under this cloud. We've still got a bit of mugginess there through the early hours of Thursday, but it will get truly swept away when we see another very large area of low pressure move in from the south, a bit of a channel low developing, and this is developing right on the boundary between the fresh Atlantic air and the very warm air to the south. And as this sweeps through, it's going to give some very heavy rain overnight into Friday before clearing, with perhaps a squall line there with some incredible rainfall rates developing on this. Again, we have to keep a very close eye on this. Could be rain warnings issued for this sort of system. But as it sweeps away, then we start to see the truly Arctic air appearing. Initially, it's not in for Scotland yet. As you can see, most of it's still rain showers. But as we progress through Friday into Saturday, more of those showers, we start to see pinks developing and purples, indicating snowfall, at least some wintriness. And that increases as we head into Saturday, with quite a few showers inland over higher ground, having wintry flavour. Elsewhere, a classic northwesterly breeze with lots of fresh air coming in off the North Atlantic, and lots of showers developing as well, especially for coastal areas and the traditional northerly wind areas. And it's the early hours of Sunday, majority of the showers coming inland for Scotland are falling of a wintry nature. So it is a proper cold air mass. It is the middle of October, but it is a proper cold air mass. And we can see that on the upper air temperatures right now. And you can see 16, 17 degrees at upper air temperatures as of earlier today. But colder air is flooding in, and it is quite a cold air mass that's trying to push in. But because it takes so long to push in, it does lose its intensity. About the -1 and -2 degree isophone tries to push in, but as I said, it gets halted through tomorrow and Thursday for southern areas, but then gets truly pushed away as that low pressure system moves in, giving very heavy rain into Friday. And you can see cold air moves in, and then very cold air arrives into the weekend. -8 degree isotherm in for Scotland. That's the sort of air mass in midwinter could give you an ice days in place. It's a very cold air mass. If -8 enveloped the whole country, we'd be talking about widespread wintriness in all showers, widespread frost, temperatures low single digits or even colder in the daytime. So it is a really, truly Arctic air mass moving in. It is only, as I said, going to last a few days, but it's going to be very cold when it does move in. See, the dew points are around the mid-teens still as we head into tomorrow through southern areas, but those dew points in the north are dropping, just showing you the stark contrast in air masses. And eventually you can see those dew points drop from 16, 17 degrees across the south coast down towards freezing by Saturday and hovering around the low single-digit mark. And widely for northern areas, below freezing, indicating dry, cold Arctic air. And when the dew points are below freezing, showers can have a wintry nature. Even if the temperature is 5 or 6 degrees, we can still see graupel, hail, snow and sleet coming out of some of these heavier showers. That can't be ruled out, even for moderate to low-lying inland areas as we head into Sunday. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, you'll be able to see it is going to be cold into the weekend, but it's not going to be anything ridiculous. We're still talking about double digits in southern areas. You can see tomorrow, through today, we've seen temperatures widely into the low 20s, mid-20s again. But as we head into tomorrow, maybe just about nudging 20 degrees in the south where it's muggy, but it won't feel all too great because we've got that cloud and rain moving in, and northern areas starting to cool down. As we head into Thursday, could actually start to see initial signs of a frost developing for Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland and Scotland, but nothing too widespread yet. Thursday still could see a 17, 18, 19 along the far south coast, but many areas into the mid to low teens. Friday will be even cooler in northern areas, high single digits, maybe just nudging 10 or 11 degrees, 14 or 15 in the south under that area of rain. And finally, as we head into Saturday and Sunday, into Saturday morning, frost developing quite widely across the Highlands of Scotland, low single digits for Northern England, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, even into the southern parts of England, 5 or 6 degrees, and into Saturday afternoon, northern areas, mid to high single digits at best, southern areas, maybe 12 or 13, huge contrast to what we're seeing at the moment, and finally into Sunday, actually widespread temperatures down towards the low single digits, if not towards freezing for most of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, seeing 2, 3 degrees, and again locally colder, and the same for Northern England as well, with parts of Southern England down to 4 or 5. So massive temperature contrast is coming, and a truly a taste of winter arriving for this weekend. Now, if you look at the latest GFS, we'll be able to see what is in store for the next 5 days and, of course, into the future. Now, this run has only just come out, so we actually haven't had a look at the extended range, but you can see the northerly wind is trying to push through in the coming hours, but eventually we do see the proper cold air move in for Saturday and Sunday, and eventually high pressure topples in. So even though the cold air could get cut off, because we're staying under high pressure, we could see frosts remain all the way until around Tuesday or Wednesday next week. Now here is where we start to see some divergence in the models, where they start to disagree. We did see quite a few runs yesterday and still some runs today building in a Scandinavian high, but it really is, where is the wind direction coming from? As this time of year we still got warm air across Europe, but equally we got cold air for Scandinavia, parts of Russia, and that will mean, depending on the wind direction, we could see warmer air move back in, mid to high teens again, or even keeping us pretty cold and frosty. Now in this latest GFS, the wind direction is actually coming from more of a southeasterly. So if you look at the upper air temperatures, we'd actually be looking at a fairly mild southerly wind. And it is possible to see inversions this time of year, but it's more unlikely simply because we still have remnants of warmth within these air masses, and at the surface we will still see generally average to above average conditions. You can see here cold air is going down into southeast Europe, but for much of the UK we're slightly above average, and you can see the potential equivalent temperature is still pretty cold across the UK here towards the extended range, but nowhere near as cold as if we did see the proper easterly wind or the cold air mass we see initially pushing in through the weekend. So not quite as cold as that, but still would be chilly all the way into the extended range, for eventually the westerly winds open back up right towards 384 hours, with a flat westerly and strong Atlantic systems moving in. So definitely keeping a bit of a colder resemblance through the middle of the month, before turning more unsettled and Atlantic driven towards the end of the month. Very interesting seeing that. Now, if you compare to the GM, again, a northerly wind arriving by the weekend, giving very cold air. Eventually the high pressure moves in. Wind direction again coming in from the easterly direction, initially looking southeasterly, but that air mass looks like it's transitioning to more of a flat easterly with colder air coming out of Scandinavia and from Russia, and we'd expect to see those upper temperatures drop. See the dew points as well, cold to our east, even across Central Europe, dew points dropping because that air mass is coming in from the north. So initially this would be a milder southeasterly, but then it could develop into something a bit colder. Again, all dependent on the exact wind direction here. It's initially southeasterly, but you can see the cold air is undercutting the high pressure, and you can see that wind direction is veering more from a southerly around the 18th, 19th October to more of a flat easterly come the 20th and probably the days beyond that. So very minute details could change it from being 17, 18 degrees with the southerly wind to 10 or 11 degrees, feeling cold coming in from the east. And finally, if we compare to the ECMWF, again, that northerly wind arriving, high pressure trying to topple in, but building really just only on top of the UK, so probably could keep it frosty and cool for a time, for eventually Atlantic systems open up. Still seeing that blocking up towards Svalbard and Scandinavia, turning areas across northeast Europe, up towards Russia, very cold, but for the UK, it'd actually be pretty unsettled, and not particularly cold at all. Generally around average, oscillating above and below. You see that cold pull out to our east, not making its way towards the UK. So the overall pattern for sort of Northern Europe is decided. We're going to see some sort of high pressure blocking up towards Scandinavia, Svalbard, into the longer range, but uncertainty is whether it's going to deliver easterly winds our way, and whether it does deliver southeasterly or northeasterly winds, or a bit of a mix of both, like the GM showed. As all these very subtle differences this time of year can make a massive difference to the surface temperatures. Now, after you finish by looking at the ensembles, now the latest GFS ensembles are only just coming out, going out to the 19th of October, so out towards day 10, and you can see very warm at the moment, a little bit of a drop in the next 24 hours or so as initial cooler air tries to push in, but then we see a slight resurgence in the temperatures as we see that heavy rain move in for Friday, and on the back edge, temperatures drop around 15 degrees in the matter of around 12 to 24 hours, down towards the -5 line for the weekend, all the way peaking perhaps through Sunday and Monday before a very slow transition back to warmer conditions. You can see it's dry though, that's important. It'll be dry, frosty, foggy, so feeling like a genuine winter day. Now, if you compare it to the 6 o'clock run, you can see that some runs, including the 6 o'clock operational run, kept us cold for the foreseeable future. But the majority, as you can see here from the 6 o'clock run and from the 12 o'clock run here, do go average to above average once again. The 2 meter temperatures will take a big hit. 20 degrees is still possible tomorrow, and maybe even into Thursday it's possible on the far south coast. But beyond that, into the weekend, 9 or 10 degrees, maybe 11 or 12 if we're lucky, and even lower than that overnight. Again, the temperature's not doing the overnight temperatures justice here. The dew point's also taking a massive hit, 15 degrees in the moment, maybe down to -3 or -4 for the peak of this colder snap coming up. So maybe a 20 degree temperature dew point change. So a massive shift in air mass, truly quite exceptional shift in air mass here. More inclined to something you see in the United States, where they see these massive colliding air masses. Not something you'd expect in the UK, but we are going from one extreme to the other. We're going from a very warm spell, unseasonably warm upper air temperatures, to unseasonably cold upper air temperatures, really emphasised by those dew point numbers. And finally, if we look at the ECMWF ensembles, again, very similar pattern. We've got the full run here, but this is the midnight run. Again, a bit of a drop over the next 24 hours. A little bit of a bump as we see the rainfall move in with some slightly milder air within that rain. And then we see a massive drop, almost a 15 degree temperature drop down towards the -5 line, keeping it dry and cold for about 3 or 4 days, before we generally trend towards average or slightly above average, and a return of unsettled conditions. So there is the possibility we see high pressure dominate, possibility we see easterly winds into the longer term, but at this stage, it's only hints. There is a whole wide range of models, scenarios, and you see most of the models and ensemble members do have something more Atlantic and slightly milder pushing in. But we can't rule it out. Things can change in the longer term, so we'll just have to see. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Make sure you stay safe out on all this heavy rain we're going to see in places tomorrow. It's going to trend southwards, so even though it's been stunning the last few days, it is unfortunately coming to an end. Heavy rain will be arriving for the Midlands tomorrow, and quite widely elsewhere Thursday through to Friday, and then we're going to see very cold air starting to arrive. Again, nothing compared to what we can see in midwinter, but it is going to be a very cold air mass, and it's going to be a real shock to the system. It's going to be something we haven't felt in around 4, 5, 6 months, probably back towards maybe May, April time. We still had a few chilly mornings. It's going to feel back towards winter again, unfortunately. So after a very long summer where temperatures have been around that 20 degree mark for many areas for months, unfortunately we're going to see a big transition this weekend as we do just take the slow descent towards winter. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.